Right, quick video here, two problems. We're talking about dividing numbers in scientific notation. Now take a look at each of these problems. Directions are to divide. I should include, let me add something to this, divide and right answers in scientific notation. Okay, because that's what we want to do. We're given numbers in scientific notation, we're going to divide and write our answers in scientific notation. Okay? So basically, you look at both of these problems and there's four numbers. They're all in scientific notation. Remember that definition, because that's going to come in very important a little bit later. Definition of scientific notation, that first number is between 1 and 10. Right? So you'll notice that the 4.2, 2.1, the 6.0, the 9.0, they're all between 1 and 10. Right? So, and then you have times 10 to some power. That's scientific notation. That's how it's written. Alright? So what we want to do is kind of treat this like two problems. Right? I think that's the best approach here. So what I'm going to do is just divide that. Right? That's the first part of my problem. Just divide the numbers. Ignore the powers for a second. 4.2 divided by 2.1 is 2. Right? 2.1 goes into 4.2 two times. So I divide that. You can use a calculator if you want. Sometimes they don't come out so even. 4.2 divided by, that's what this bar means, divided by 2.1 is 2. And then I use my exponent rules. That's why scientific notation is in this chapter, because there's exponents involved, right? So then I use my exponent rules to do this part. The base is 10, so I leave the base the same, and then I subtract 3 minus negative 3. Start with the top exponent, subtract the bottom, right? And you get those two negatives, and of course that means you add. So your final answer is 2.0 times 10 to the 6. Okay? Same thing with number 2. I'm going to divide. 6 divided by 9, that one doesn't come out so evenly. So that's going to give me 0.66, repeating, I'll round up to 7, 0.667, and then I'll do the same thing with the tens. Negative 7 minus negative 3. I'll just come over here and write it. Negative 7 minus negative 3. And I do that, and I know the answer should be negative 4. Okay, and I did the exact same thing with the second one as I did with the first. But in this case, I'm not done because of those directions which I just added. Right answers in scientific notation. That's not scientific notation because 0.667 is not between 1 and 10. Okay, so what we have to do is adjust it. So let me show you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to write just this number in scientific notation. You've done this before. Just that number in scientific notation means I got to move this guy over 1. Right? So, and it's a small number, 0.667. Ignore the 10 to the negative 4 right now. 0.667 is a small number. If I want to write that in scientific notation, I move my decimal place so that the first number between 1 and 10, which it is, 6.6 is between 1 and 10, and I know I moved it one place. So what do I put up here? A 1 or a negative 1? The answer is negative 1, right? Because it was a small number to start with. Right, so these two guys, let that sink in for a second, they're the same thing. 0.667 and 6.67 times 10 to the negative 1 are the same number. One of them's written in scientific notation, the other one's not. Okay, so what I have here in red parentheses are the same thing. And now I can consider the 10 to the negative 4. And again, this is why the scientific notation is in the exponent chapter, because I can now combine my exponents because I know how to do that. I got a rule for that. What's 10 to the negative 1 times 10 to the negative 4? The answer, 10 to the negative 5, right? We add our exponents there. So my final answer then is 6.67 times 10 to the negative 5.